Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
This is The Long War. I'm Rob Bear, and joining me tonight is my partner in crime, Kenny Boucher. What's up, dog?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
So Wyatt is off returning some videotapes. I think he's gonna have to pay a fee because he didn't rewind them. Said something about that. I didn't understand. Is that a thing?
Yeah, you got to rewind a DVD. That's what I've heard.
Oh, you can be kind and rewind the DVD? Is that how it works?
Man, I used to love going to Blockbuster and getting Nintendo games.
What are those memes online? It's like, it's 1990. It's 2003. You don't have to work tomorrow. You're at home. There's no school, and you got the new copy of Halo, and you're gonna play it all night.
Yeah. Those were the simpler times.
But you could just do that now. I think you could just call off work the next day.
Yeah, so much as I fantasize about I loved walking around Blockbuster and looking at stuff. Like, it would be cool if you had if you came up with a new business model that was bringing it back, but you'd have to you'd have to work with the modern technology in a creative way, but the focus would have to be on the nostalgia and the community feeling, because it can't be a place you go to get a video like that. Yeah, no,
it's got to be that lifestyle business.
It's a lifestyle business, right? So you'd have to have a fresh popcorn machine.
Yep.
The employees would be the most important part of this experience. You'd have to have that catered to experience, so it's not about job application for Blockbuster any hobo off the street. It's essentially job application for an actor who can also use a cash register. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a feeling that you're trying to present. The idea is that you're hanging out there for a little while. So you'd have to kind of expand upon the business. You
need a popcorn bar. You can have all these different,
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Popcorn bar. So you have to partner with somebody like a legendary popcorn company, like that one in Chicago's that everyone likes.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to partner with someone, have a fresh setup, drinks, everything. You'd have to have it's doable, right? You see, you have to make it a lifestyle situation, and you can walk around and peruse, because that was fun. Walking through and looking at all the thumbnails of all the fucking movies and seeing shit you never heard of, right? Which is kind of what you do on Netflix right now sometimes. So if you built in a proprietary QR code mechanism to where, you'd have to suspend disbelief here, there'd have to be a proprietary app. You can go and scan the QR code, so whatever it is, but you try to bring them into the store would be the whole purpose. So you'd be doing a lot of things to make the business less efficient to be efficient. Because the more efficient version of this is you just fucking DoorDash the popcorn to people and they just stay at home and watch on the app, right?
Yeah.
So you're trying you have to create something new. The emphasis would have to shift, but I think it's possible with enough capital. And if it's in the right place, right? The right city.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about the right place. The grocery store up the street, don't get me wrong. So there's a grocery store up the street that's quicker to get to, but it's more expensive. Or I can go to Food Kitty, which is Food Line, down the street, which is stupid hard to get to because for some reason there's all this traffic here and not that many people. I don't get it. So I go to the fancy grocery store because it's actually going to save me time at the end of the day. But did you know this grocery store has a bar in it, by the way, that I just found out about. It's got a smokehouse now where they smoke meats, and they have that whole thing that you were just talking about. You can't go in and pick out your VCR tapes and stuff, but you can go in and you can look at the meats, and I'm sure it smells great. And I'm sure it's amazing. I haven't been to it yet. I heard all about it. But I just go there because it's easy to get to. And the nice lady at the produce department, she cuts up my veggies for me, and I can buy my little thing of celery for $4 because it actually saves me time, which is shocking.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, people go to this shit. I'm telling you.
It could be done because it's the feeling that we're missed, not the convenience. There is no convenience in going to a place to get a movie. You know, it's why do we want to go there? You know, like,
Yeah. That's all we want to do these days.
yeah, it'd be fun. Anyway,
Ugh.
so we don't have Wyatt here,
Nope.
but you said you had a good would you rather. So
I think I have a good would you rather. It's Warhammer related. So let's talk about this. And this might blow your mind. You might have to think about this for a minute. All right. Would you rather buy 10 Space Marines with a jump pack for $70 or 5 Space Marines with a jump pack for $65?
Are the 5 Space Marines with jump packs exactly the same as the 10? Or are they are they better kit? What are we looking at here?
They're all multi-part kits with every weapon you could ever want for that squad. The squad of 5 is standing on rocks in some cases.
Are they otherwise identical, like the same exact unit?
One is played. They're all Space Marines, and one is a firstborn unit for Horus Heresy, and one is Primaris.
Okay, so we're saying 5 Primaris Space Marines with jump packs versus MK whatever Horus Heresy armor.
Yes.
Times 10 for jump packs.
Yes.
And so, would I rather? I mean, if I'm playing Primaris, I have to buy the Primaris. Like that's like they're so much bigger. They don't even look
but
the same.
Are they bigger because they're standing on rocks?
Their armor they're probably like 15% more mass in every direction than Firstborn.
But they have the same. But isn't that weird that they have the same exact shoulder pads and head sizes as Primaris or as Firstborn?
It's true. They're taller too. Like I've painted a lot. Like I remember I did a Millennials army that was all Firstborn, and then I introduced some Primaris like Assault Marines. They're so much bigger. Like we're talking like wrist width, forearm width. Like everything is just bigger, and so it really comes down to like how poor am I? Like it's like, am I so poor that I'm gonna drop the $70 on the more guys and do a counts as Primaris?
Okay.
Never quite being happy with the fact that they're not jacked Primaris models, but I did get 5 extra dudes for like $5 or some shit.
Yeah.
So there's that. But that's what it comes down to. So like for me, I don't think not. So for me personally, Kenny, I would buy the 10 Horus Heresy ones because I would make them chaos models, and I need things like Raptors and Warp Talons. So I'm a chaos player. I think that would be a good count as purchase to pick those up. It would also save me from painting trim and stuff, like a lot of excessive trim. So Kenny Boucher, in his needs and his wants and his exact poverty level, would go for the better deal.
That's fair.
But I would never buy the 10 guys if what I needed was Primaris.
I mean, if you are, I see your point. If you're going to be, I am all in on Games Workshop events. I'm going to go to all these US Opens. I got to have the exact same thing that, is what they require, then yeah. But if I'm just playing at home with my buds or the local game store, I don't know. That's a tough choice.
You'll never be happy. Well, I wouldn't. I'll never be happy using them as a Primaris substitute.
That's fair.
But I'm doing Chaos right now, so like Chaos has a lot of in between shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like they're perfect for Chaos.
Chaos, like it's a great cheat code too, because it gets you out of painting a bunch of shenanigans trim, and you're using this like Heresy armor, which is totally that'll fucking ride for Chaos. We used to do that a lot when the Prospero and the Calth box were fucking available.
Oh man.
I couldn't even think of not using one of those armor sets.
I mean, they were perfect, dude.
Oh my god, yes.
I think that was a problem for them.
Yeah.
I think they realized quickly they had effed up.
They fucked up. Like, I mean, dude, my old address in Hollywood, the old one, the Cerritos place, bro, I used to fill that dumpster to the brim with the board game pieces to that set, dude.
Yeah.
Like just the trash parts, like the cardboard, the dice that don't do anything.
Yeah, the dice are terrible.
The dice that just have random bullshit on them.
Oh, those were the days. Yep. That was the big question. That was the big question for this week because well, let's just get into it. So we got it's been a week off, so if you shuffle down to your local game store, take advantage of some holiday sales, you may have scored some battle forces. They are gone. They were good deals. They are gone. They were gone twice. Legion Imperialis comes out this weekend. Maybe Kenny can find that picture I put up in our chat to show you just how big those miniatures are. And they are small. They are very small. Show them the picture.
Got it.
That's actually my finger. I've been banned off several social media platforms for having my fingers in pictures.
Because it looks like your dick.
I guess they thought it was something else. I don't know. But yeah, that's happened. But unfortunately my fingers are average.
No, they're gigantic. Size. Actually, I have an old picture of your thumb. Remember?
What?
So I remember, like I stripped it off your Twitch channel, and I was like, "Look how big this guy's thumb is."
Why is my thumb so big? How big is your thumb?
It's not as big as yours.
I don't believe that.
Not big enough to be confused for a dick.
That only happened on a couple of places. Anyways, so the Sigmar Battle Forces actually didn't sell that well. GW still, I think, has some as of the other day in stock. So I guess it kind of depends. GW sold out, so I guess that means that they did well. This week's new pre-orders going up. There is a fantasy version of the Christmas exclusive miniature for $40. Flesh Eater Courts are finally getting their army box for $200. There's a new Tufts coming out. Sometimes Hobbying's tough, so you got to have a new Tuft for Christmas. The Brimstein Firegrass, I think I said that right, is $15. And of course, Horus Heresy is getting some Assault Marines with jump packs for 10 men, of course, for $70. So look for those to go on pre-order this Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern here in the States. I think UK, they're like in a weird in-between. We don't do daylight savings time, so their time's 5 Eastern. Or if you just live in the UK, that's normal for you. I don't really know. Oh, there it is. Just saw you put it up a second ago. So that is a Imperial Guardsman for Legion Imperialis. They are real small. Real small. And that is a normal size sprue. So there's a lot of those dudes on there that you got to cut out and put on little tiny bases.
Yep. Ignore Rob's penis in the photo.
I'm sorry, guys. Shit gets wild when I'm talking models sometimes. that's just my finger. Yeah. So Legion Imperialis will be hitting stores this weekend. If you pre-ordered yours, well, you'll probably have it, but getting the rest of the stuff to build armies might prove a little problematic, as Games Workshop is sold out, and I think a lot of stores have sold out their allocations as well. So, I was talking with somebody the other day about this. I was like, hey, you're really into Titanicus. Are you going to pick up Legion Imperialis? And I was like, no. Not only that, hell no, because they burned me once on Titanicus. And I was like, you know what? I thought about this just before I came here to this game store. So it was so bad. And I didn't even realize this at the time. when Games Workshop put out Titanicus, you didn't get the command terminals, these little cardboard terminals that you needed to play the game to keep track of all your shields and your reactor points and things and your weapons and where the hits were coming in and all your damage. They didn't even include those with the separate releases. You had to buy a separate card pack for that. So like they immediately paywalled it, and all that went down right around all that China tariff stuff was happening. And they couldn't get like the cheap printing done over there in bulk. And that was like a big thing because they had all these models to sell, but they didn't have like the cards to do it. So they had to like wait and like catch up and then put the cards in the box sets to sell. So you could actually get the new releases and play them. So you had the cards to play the models. And it was a bit of a shit show. And I made some like custom stuff, and they put out PDFs because people literally could not play the game because they could not get the command terminals. And in that weird in between, while they were getting them reboxed or put in the boxes to begin with, you could get the PDFs of them. And then I realized, I was like, oh, I can put this on a magnet board and use like magnet, like thumbtacks and things to actually track everything. And it's a lot cleaner because if you bump the table, your shit doesn't fly everywhere. And that worked out really well. But even in the beginning, they tried their stuff, and I was like so hype. I was so hype on these Titans. I was like, oh man, I love Titans. I'm gonna play this game. I'm all in on this game. And then they fucked me, and I didn't even realize they were doing it. And then like looking back in hindsight, how they like closed out the game. You know, they're like, oh well, here's all the rules in one book, and here's all the rules in another book, and I was like, oh, that means they're done with this game. Dang. And then they started previewing stuff for about a year later for Legion Imperialis. And, you know, I feel bad. People ask me, they're like, are you going to play it? And I was like, no, let me tell you a story. And I tell that story. And I'm like, and now I see it. And I see these people just as hype as I was for Titanicus to play this game. And I already see the writing on the wall. Like, you can't even get the stuff you're going to need to play the game. And you could argue that that is a lot of what killed Horus Heresy in 2022, because it came out and everybody was all hyped for it, right? Everybody bought the starters and everything, and they're like, oh, I'm going to play Horus Heresy and everything. And you couldn't get nothing else. You couldn't get rhinos. You couldn't get drop pods. You couldn't get the basic units to play the game and build your army. And when was the last time you saw somebody playing a game of Horus Heresy?
I've never seen that, actually.
I think for the new edition, I saw one game getting played, and it was somebody that they had all their armies already painted and already done. And they were just using the new rules from the starter. So yeah, you know, like, I think there's a lot of optimism out there, and there's a lot of people really hyped for it, but I feel like I'm watching a train wreck happen, like in slow motion. And I'm like, dang, I really hope it doesn't go down like that. I really hope they restock their web store so everybody can get what they need. Because it literally, as it's hitting the store shelves, if it even hits store shelves, you can't get any more right now. And ask a Votan player, like, about the Sagatar transport. Like, they did like one intermittent reprinting, like, in a year. And that's like, and now they're all in the Battle Force boxes, of course.
Damn.
So yeah, you know, it's tough. It's tough to buy in on something these days when money's so tight, and to see writing on the wall like that. And I think that's why we do these evaluations and we do these opinions. And, you know, I like talking about this stuff with folks, and I like polling stores, seeing what's happening and seeing what they're seeing. But it's like, dude, I just couldn't get behind this game personally. I wanted to, I really did, but I just can't. I couldn't find nobody to play Titanicus with, you know, after like the first like month. So I don't know. I hope it does well. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope everything comes back in stock and everybody can get what they need, you know.
Rob, you've never been wrong.
I was wrong. Like, I've been wrong before. Posted pictures of my fingers on the internet. That was bad. So normally we don't reply to chat, but someone, I guess Talbaz is saying in chat, he's like, are you saying we'll see pictures of dumpstering LI Legion Imperialis boxes in a few months? So here's the problem with the whole like dumpster wars thing now, right? So dumpster wars basically happen because of the COVID bubble. GW just overproduced and didn't.
And now they're just underproducing.
And now they've switched back and they're completely underproducing, and they've gone to great pains.
So they're actually going to fuck up the dumpster wars economy.
Yeah, dumpster wars doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't. And from what I understand, they have a real problem with getting the numbers from stores because now I don't know how dialed in everybody is. Well, let me just go over it. So like the teaser goes out on Warhammer Community on Sunday, right? And then that day they email, or they're supposed to email stores the pricing and the want sheet, right? So you have to fill out the sheet by Tuesday, tell them how many you want.
The secret pre-sale intel sheet.
Yes, classified information. And then GW gets it and they tabulate all like a cartoon, and they tabulate all the numbers and they tabulate what they want to sell. And then they call back to stores and they're like, you get this many. And then the stores can let their people know, oh, okay, I can actually take your order now. In a lot of cases, there isn't a whole lot left over to actually hit the shelves, right? Because you just don't know and money's tight. I mean, maybe it's a better system because you're not just like, hey, you get two. But I mean, nobody seems happy with it regardless from what I've heard. So I don't know. Either way, so that's where we're at. And it's gonna be tough to do things and to get what you want for new games going forward. There was a lot of holiday sales last week. And I think, we put out our Black Friday post or Cyber Monday post. We generally have about 30 to 40 sales on there. I think we send out and contact about 200-ish brands and different artists in the space. Generally, we get back about 30 to 40. This time we had almost 60. So almost double people running sales for like the first time ever. So, there's a lot of good deals to be had out there. A lot of folks, trying to sell stuff and had all sorts of good deals. Some companies like Monument Hobbies just put out new releases like their fluorescent paints. And also they got that new oilless weathering wash that looks pretty neat. Haven't messed around with it, but definitely pro not smelly because I don't have the smell buds. We talked about that before. Also, Joy Toy put out one of the coolest previews I think out there. Wyatt said he pre-ordered the new Sentinel.
Fuck yeah, that thing looks awesome,
dude. It's like $100, but like I think it said it was like 18 inches tall or something.
It looks sick as hell, man. Like it's basically a Scout Walker from Star Wars. Yeah,
let's be honest.
For the full G.I. Joe guy that goes in it.
Yeah, and that dude is like, I mean, he's a good 8 inches tall. Like, so think about that. So you got this 8-inch dude going in a cockpit. You already know it's like,
God, we got so huge. Much going on. You're like, it's 18 inches. We got an 8-inch dude in a cockpit. It's like, God, so much good material here.
Why aren't you writing this down?
This is why Rob's hands get banned, soft banned from Facebook.
Soft banned. Ugh, so rough. But anyways, so they also
it's not soft or rough. That's why you get banned.
You're just taking this to a next level, bro. Anyways, Blade Champion, also from Joy Toy, came out. Yes, I said Joy Toy. Any comments?
I already made those comments. I thought definitely they were a vibrator manufacturer.
I think everybody did it first, but that was 2 years ago. Yeah. Now we know
that they're the legit shit. They're the fucking heat.
They are, yeah. When it comes to action figures, they are pretty on point, I think. Did you watch the big old preview? The big old Warhammer Championship, World Championship preview?
No.
All the new stuff coming out?
No.
No. Okay. Nah, not a lot of people didn't. Actually, according to twitchtracker.com, the Warhammer World Championship preview was the lowest watched preview from Games Workshop all year.
That tracks with the numbers, man.
So a lot of low interest in the Games Workshop right now in general. And that definitely coincides with that. They definitely unveiled they previewed some really cool stuff.
It's like we all have stuff already. That's the thing. It's like the endless behavioral characteristic, the habit we have had of like endlessly buying shit when we currently own shit.
Yeah.
And just never actually, because of that FOMO. Well, it's kind of, I think people are starting to like acknowledge, like, I already have stuff and I'd like to sit down and just focus on that. So I don't see, people really caring too much about the new shit anymore.
And I think that tracks with a lot of polling I've gotten from stores. Stores are, they're selling a lot more Codex books, which was very unexpected. They're selling less and less. Like you still see a lot of the Marine units sitting on the shelves, Tyranid units sitting on the shelves, except for the Biovores you can't find, the Neurolictors you can't find. So the things that are crucial that have the good rules and you need in multiples seem to be selling. But like dudes with jump pack, Primaris dudes with jump packs that you can print out jump packs for, not selling. Shocker, right? I know. So I think there's going to be a lot of that going forward. And GW, this industry or this market that they've created has rapidly shifted in this year alone to oversaturation, to undersaturation. But like, where is the point where people actually purchase things? And I think we're going to get that answer with the Necron and AdMech release, because are people going to buy these new units because they're unique-ish? Or are they just going to, once again, buy all the books, right? So that's going to be really interesting to see as a business standpoint, because, I mean, like I said, stores got to buy something, right? they got to buy something to stay solvent, stay relevant. Speaking of action figures that aren't soft or have a name like Joy Toy, McFarlane, you might remember him. He used to draw stuff. I think he's still the president of Image Comics, actually.
He probably still draws.
He probably can still draws. Yeah. He might be 60, but he hasn't lost it at all. Put out more Warhammer 40K action figures. This time he put out a bunch of different things. There's a Berserker. It's got a new Space Wolf. But what I thought was really cool was a Terminator action figure. And this thing's like, I guess they call him like a mega figure or something. This thing's like 8 inches tall. Like it's a chonk. And he did the whole artist proof thing. So you can buy it like already primed, ready to paint, or you can buy, the straight ultramarine, good.
Yeah. It looks sick.
I think it's going to be pretty neat. It's going to be one of those that I think a lot of people are going to pick up, just because Joy Toy has gotten a little bit more expensive going forward, but I can definitely see where, everybody loves the McFarlane stuff, and it's when it's so much bigger and you can actually,
and they're more action figure oriented,
yeah.
Details a little lower because it's more action figure-y.
Sure.
Toy is a toy. It looks more like the old McFarlane toys we used to have. Like,
yep.
Those shits were so tight, like destroyed the competition.
Yeah, at the time they were the heat. Went over the new releases, and I think that's pretty much it for news. A lot of sales are pretty much wrapping up. Today's Thursday. We record on Thursdays, last day in November. So I think a lot of sales are wrapping up today. But there still might be some straggler sales out there to be had. So definitely Google up our Black Friday or Cyber Monday post over on Spiky Bits to see what's left, see what's still alive out there, because who knows, still might be some good deals to be had out there. Of course, we'll have some holiday Christmas stuff here coming up in a few weeks.
No doubt. So why don't we take a quick break to hear from our sponsors before we talk more about fantasy, I guess? Is that what you want to talk about?
I mean, we could do some tinfoil hat, but yeah.
For the best game aids and peripheral tools for wargaming, check out our friend J15games.com. From loom counters and dials to faction rule trackers, these are the coolest tools out there. Designed to be functional and intuitive, these tools help you stay organized and speed up your game. Their flagship product, the Nesting, Movement, and Combat tool, is absolutely amazing. A magnetized measuring widget that splits into 3 different size tools for every situation. And you can get it in 8 different colors. J15 also offers custom ordered dice trays made from hardwood and leather. Check them out at j15games.com. That's j15games.com.
baronofdice.com, the official dice sponsor of the Long War podcast. Use promo code LONGWAR5 for 5% off. If you're looking for a superior dice manufacturer, then look no further than Baron of Dice. Custom artwork, faction representation, and crisp razor edge square dice. Remember to use promo code LONGWAR5. Again, that's baronofdice.com, the official dice sponsor of this podcast. And we're back. Rob, why is fantasy such a dumpster fire? How come anyone who touches a fantasy IP is just doomed to fail?
Well, I think you have to kind of specify like the specifics. Well, I guess that's redundant. So, Total War has done really well with the Warhammer Fantasy IP because it's basically like playing Warhammer Fantasy on the tabletop. So if I had to wager a guess, I would say actually fantasy is probably the more profitable of the IP than Age of Sigmar. Case in point, the most recent Age of Sigmar game to come out is pretty much a flop. I mean, even the company kind of said it was a flop in their basically a quick revised earnings statement, which promptly resulted in them 2 days ago losing 20% of their value. So perhaps Age of Sigmar was not the best IP to hitch a new game release to in this kind of, what would you label this kind of feeling right now of in the hobby as far as like purchasing new miniatures?
Malaise?
I guess malaise is a good word. Yeah. Probably was just maybe a victim of bad timing, maybe a victim of too high pricing of things. It's really hard to say. I mean, the game came out and got kind of panned for the pre-order price of $60. It's Age of Sigmar Realms of Ruin. I think it had one article on Warhammer Community, so G-Dub didn't do a whole lot of promotion for it either.
Are they a new game studio?
No, existing game studio. Apparently they've had a lot of hits, some stuff I've never really heard of, but apparently in general they're just kind of having.
So you could take it at face value, like we have strong if you took no other information, strong examples of the fantasy old school brand doing really well in the video game place.
Yes.
And our most recent example of an AOS title literally failing by the only mission, the mission of the actual producer. And
that's
reflected in their value of their company now. So, we could apply a lot of things. Like Total War already had the IP. They already had their own IP, and they just skinned an IP.
True.
Like, so they already had, so it's fans on both sides. You could check. Those games have been coming out long before the previously mentioned gamer malaise. Probably at the height of some of the fanaticism, especially capitalizing on a craving for fantasy when fantasy was more freshly removed.
Yep.
So there's a potential you could speculate on that habit, on that, decision, on why that decision could be made by but also people were playing those Total War games for a long time. So it could be an example of AOS sucks, super bad at fantasies, the one truth. Or it could be more complicated than that, and it could be that no matter how big of a fucking shiny 40k IP you slap on a game right now, you're doomed to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Because, it's the numbers are down across the board. You just said the new preview, according to Twitch stats.com, was the lowest preview of 2023 for Games Workshop, numbers wise, tuning in. And that is reflected across the board. October was the lowest earning month of all retail in 2023. That trend continues. This has got to be one of the worst, holiday Black Friday years of all time.
Yes, I've heard that as well.
So we're seeing this trend, and then you even made all that speculation about this new pre-order scheme. You brought up the economy, and even something as simple and overlooked as student loan forgiveness being done. We're done with that, the forgiveness period. So now
from COVID, yeah.
So now you take a bunch of people in the exact demographic that you expect to buy these things.
Yep.
And make
suddenly not buying them.
Suddenly not buying them, right? So there's a lot going on here, man. So it could be used as an example of why they need to bring Old World back and AOS is garbage, which you mentioned. There's a lot of people who would agree with that. There's a lot of people who have PTSD basically about the way AOS replaced fantasy in their life, and how there's basically a blip on the radar of their soul on the day that happened. There's legions of people who would feel that way. So anything AOS, they're like, fuck that.
There was, and it's funny that you mentioned that. So in June/July of 2015, that lasted to about October, November of 2015, all the metrics across the board, interest in Games Workshop completely down after they rolled out Age of Sigmar, and it basically got panned, and they had to hot fix it at the end of the year with the first General's Handbook. It is shockingly similar, and I have zero proof of this except for living and observing at the same time. It happened last time. There's shocking similarities happening right now between the end of Warhammer Fantasy in 2015 and what's happening in Age of Sigmar right now. And let me just lay it out for you. So first off, we got the new General's Handbook in June for Age of Sigmar. And they're like, hey guys, this one's going for a year instead of 6 months. And people were like, that's weird. Oh, maybe they're just working on Old World. And they don't have the resources to do this or whatever. And dedicate to come out with the book every 6 months. But there's still the studios up there still doing their meta watches, still keeping an eye on the tournament scene, still adjusting things, putting out FAQs and everything. So, okay, the game's still there. The game's still alive, guys. It's fine. But when they blew up Fantasy, they didn't say nothing about it. There was just some leaks, some rough leaks here and there about, there'd be a new edition. We knew there was going to be a new edition because there was this series of campaign books called the End Times that kind of offered a new beginning of sorts and resolving some, loose threads. The last End Times book came out in April of 2015. Age of Sigmar came out in June of 2015. This is how close this stuff was planned to happening, to going down, right? So fast forward to now, we know there's only one book, right? Only one General's Handbook. Supposedly it lasts the whole year until June of 2024. But we know that the Old World game is coming out in early 2024. The new General's Handbook was supposed to come out in early 2024. I guess maybe they didn't want to compete with the launch of Old World, I guess. What else is going on in Sigmar? We know Flesh Eater Quartz is coming out. Whole new army, whole new stuff. Let's see. So what happened with Warhammer Fantasy? Oh, they came out with all sorts of new models. We got Nagash. We got all sorts of the Mortarks came out new. So there was a bunch of new releases, new model releases, some undead stuff. Huh. That's weird. It's all kind of happening the same. And then there was campaign book. Like, it was the end times. Those were campaign books, new ways to play. It's almost like that. Oh, wait, there's campaign books happening right now. Just the Dawnbringer campaign books for like some sort of new beginning. Huh. That's weird. This all sounds really similar.
Do you think they're going to kill AOS and go back to fantasy?
I mean, I can't say for sure, but I can say there's a lot of shocking similarities happening right now. A lot.
You know, there's more to it, though, too. So, like, a big part of when they went to end times, that was already irritating enough where I think we got a lot of people who left fantasy. People were already leaving fantasy. What edition was it in fantasy when that dropped that people started, like, exiting scene? Eighth. So in eighth fantasy
was a problem. Yeah. There was a lot of broken stuff.
So it was already, so like, again, one correlation doesn't always equal causation, just like our previous discussion.
Right.
They were losing players left and right. Fantasy was, not AOS, like fantasy 8th edition. Like that's how I met Ender, bro. That's how we became friends, was him saying, fuck fantasy. It's basically 40K now. Teach me how to play 40K. Like, that was a normal conversation we were having, bro. You know what I mean? That was as normal as 6th edition 40K, people saying, fuck 40K, teach me how to play War Machine.
Remember Austin?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah, exactly. And so, basically, they hemorrhaged so many fucking player base because they were already disappointed. So, their numbers were down like crazy. So, when we talk shit on fantasy, me and Wyatt, about how there's literally a ghost town at fantasy events. There's no one there. You go and there'd be like 8 guys playing fantasy in the corner and 100 people playing 40K over here. That's what we're talking about. That's when it began. That's the true beginning of like the end. And then you go, so they never truly rebuilt. It was a bunch of people talking about how they missed the good old days of fantasy, but they'd already left fantasy because in their opinion, like they ruined the rules and they were playing 40K now, which was already more popular to begin with. So, you know, if this is a big social, big part of our hobby is social, duh, right? Like, spoiler alert, hanging out with our buddies. So if there's more buddies to hang out with because one is more popular than the other innately, and now you just jump ship because you felt betrayed by the company because the new rule set was shockingly too similar to 40K, you're already like, you're being reinforced by this decision you made. Like, it was already tense, right? You were already like, man, I really miss fantasy. I love it, man. I'm gonna go play 40K. Instant positive reinforcement. More people to play with, more interactions, more shit going on 24 hours a day. Yep. By the time fucking we get to Old World and everything like that, like, they'd already hemorrhaged some massive percentage of the fucking player base. The people were just barely holding on, you know? And then they fucking explode the fucking game and come out with AOS. And, you know, remember that complaint? Like, all those dudes who left fucking fantasy, like, it's too much like 40K anyway, I'm just gonna fucking go play 40K. Do you remember the fucking tension, the controversy of them going to round bases?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, you can't even play your old shit.
Yeah.
Because when they said, we're going to play AOS, you're like, okay, so we're going to play a new game with our same models, no problem. And then they start dropping all these new models on all these new bases you've never fucking seen before.
I forgot about the new base. How did I forget about that?
Right? Because
I think that's what did it for a lot of people, because you're like, and then.
So they did it again, Rob. It's no lie. It is 40K now, son. Right? Like, we're not even playing around anymore.
But there was no points at the beginning. They messed up. There was no points. It was just bring whatever.
For some reason, GW thought that was a good idea. They did it in 40K too. Remember, they did it in 8th edition 40K. They for some reason, GW doesn't want us to have points because there's But fuck that. That was less important. I mean, like, they basically just said, we don't care about square basers. We want round bases. We don't want you to play with your old busted shit because you're going to need to break all your dumb little skeletons off and glue them to these new circle bases. You know what I'm saying? Like, fuck all that shit. All your little ranks, all that stuff you love, that's gone. We're not doing that anymore.
No.
That was the icing on the cake. Don't forget that, right? Like, so they did it again. It's too much like 40K. I'm gonna go play 40K. Fast forward AOS. You don't even get to pretend that it's not. So that was it. These motherfuckers.
That was it for a lot of people.
That was it for a lot of people. So it took AOS a while to convince people it was worth playing. And they did become essentially the beta test for modern Warhammer 40K. So AOS did become, for a lot of the innovative shit that has made it, AOS innovated it. So they have essentially, in my humble opinion, used the less popular game system with the most beautiful models, which is AOS, it has the sickest models ever. They used that as essentially a beta test for new, exciting ways to play the game with relatively low risk, because only people left playing it were these diehard fantasy nerds who just love, you know what I mean? Like, in some hardcore players, no doubt, but they just used those players. Like, I don't like, all joking aside, they did. And then now we get to where we are today. AOS kind of stable, kind of has a good game system built around it now. That's competitive, sick models, unquestionable still. 40K, popping off, doing things like we're doing. And now they're turning the knob one more time. Bro, I can see how a fantasy player would be like, I hate Games Workshop and I'm never going to give them money again. I can understand how you can go on that emotional roller coaster as a fantasy player.
So who are they marketing Old World towards then? Are they trying to get back the players that left, or are they trying to convert? See, that's what I don't get.
They're trying to make money on all those people who have been saying they would play fantasy, not AOS, right? Like, but I think the problem that the mistake GW's making is that they believe those people. Like, they're just talking they're just talking to talk, son. They're not coming back.
What if here's the thing. Like, I always wondered this personally. What if, like, these not mainline games, so not Sigmar and not 40K, like, we're talking Kill Team, we're talking Warhammer Underworlds, we're talking Horus Heresy. What if those are more designed just to keep people in the Games Workshop ecosystem of purchasing things? Because if you're still involved with one of these games, like, you drop from the main game down to here and you're just picking up stuff here and there, you're still maybe buying paints, you're still buying books, you're still in the ecosystem. So what if the aim of this, and not necessarily if they do get rid of Sigmar, but what if the aim of this is to just get those people, because it's a really crowded marketplace right now. You've got Warlord, you've got Mantic, you've got all these other people with similar games that if they grabbed up some of the market share from some of these folks with that nostalgia, and we know nostalgia sells, right? People are remaking movies. People are remaking.
Well, I think people at the top of companies thinks it does. I think people at the top, I think, you know what I'm saying? I think they think that it's a license to print money when it's not. You know, like it's been made fun of. Maybe a year or two ago, right? Now, we don't usually field comments from chat during this section of the podcast, but I want to ask someone in the chat. Hopefully he's still here. FOB, he says, Bretonia, I've been waiting for their updates for 22 years. So this is a guy right here. I want to ask him a couple of questions if he's still in chat. Have you been sitting on this Bretonian army you curated 22 years ago? Like, you have it still in a display case, in a box, like you put them all together, painted them up, and you were just waiting to dust them motherfuckers off and play. Is that what you're saying about you've been waiting for an update for 22 years? Like, he says yes. And
I mean,
so
there's gotta be some of those folks out there.
This is what I don't think GW realizes. Like, I think it's only, I think that's what it is. It's FOB, a fob out there, right? Like it's, so how, on a scale of 1 to 10, back to FOB over here, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to just fully pick up the hobby again, start buying up army boxes and just going nuts, building, hobbying and painting and creating new armies? Or like on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely is that to be what your interest is versus like you just want to get your goddamn Bretonian on the table again? Like 1 to 10 it, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, we know they're putting out some new releases. They're converting some things over to resin. Some things, in instance of Bretonia, we know the trebuchet is going to resin, but we didn't say. Remember the Grail Reliquary? I can't say it right. Little fat pilgrims carrying around the little dead dude in a casket. We ain't seen nothing about that one, but we've seen the knights that aren't on horses, and they look fresh. Like those are new releases for Bretonia. So, maybe it's a mix. You still, it sounds like even somebody that has had that collection for that many years, they're still going to have to buy new stuff, i.e. the rules and maybe some new releases.
Yeah, he says an 8. He says he's an 8, which is very likely. He is very likely to jump full force back into this. So that must be, to answer your question, who is GW marketing this to? So potentially people like FOB, like who have been frothing at the mouth. He even said, I almost rebased them around bases.
Oof.
I almost did, but I didn't. So like, if there's a bunch of people like him locked and loaded, sitting on their armies, and he's saying, I'm an 8 out of 10, like ready to go, like fucking let's do this thing. This is my life now. Them. Yep. That's the market. So
I think
it took us like a 15-minute conversation and asking some questions in chat to come up with that conclusion. But, maybe GW has more intel than we do.
True. I mean, I can only see what I see at game stores, and I can only know what I know from game store owners. Polling them and talking to people all over the world. You can't know what's going on in the clubs, in the gaming clubs. You can't know what's going on in those garage hammers. I mean, I met a lot of people the last couple of weeks that I had never seen before. And I was like, where do you guys play? And they're like, oh, well, normally we play at my place. And there was like 5 of them. And I was like, why? I was just so dumbfounded. I was like, why? And and they're like, well, we can have smoke or drink, whatever, and like we have all the same stuff. And I'm like, okay, all right, I can see that. Like if you got like a really tight friend group, that seems like really dope. Now these guys were in the army, so I could see that. Like those dudes are really tight. Like first of all, I can count on my hand how many people I probably invite over to my house. No offense to anyone. I just, I got a lot going on here. I got water leaking in my basement. I just never know what's happening here. But that being said, when I want to play, I don't want to be home because I'm always home. So there's that too. But I'm not the typical person. Yeah.
Well, people in chat like Roger, he's talking about, or Dapper Walkie says he's like, I'm a collector, not a player so much. And I've been waiting for Tomb King reprints, probably aimed at people like me too, right? There's a guy like that. He's like not even trying to play really much. He just wants to collect. So there's another guy, which, we're always aware of the collector element, right? And then you've got Roger over here saying, for him, he's like, yeah, I mean, I just don't know what that means. Like we're like, we won't continue to support the game anymore. Like for him, he would continue to support the game no matter what. But then if we come back to FOB, who we were talking about earlier, he said how he basically just, played 40K for the whole time and never touched AOS. Right? So like when AOS happened, he was like, nope. And he went and played 40K for 22 years. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so there's at least a few angles that, like of approach here, right? There's the people who want to get out there and play their game constantly and go hard, like FOB said. There's the guys who just want to collect their Tomb Kings, which Tomb Kings are tight as shit, no doubt. And then there's people who just want to keep supporting the hobby that they love and collecting and buying. Can Fantasy do it? Can Old World's brand do it though? Is it enough?
I mean, is it the oldest? It's old. Yeah, it's older than 40K technically. So, I mean, it is Games Workshop's oldest IP.
Would it be the first? Because it like so far, everything that's not 40K is basically a specialty game. Like it's not.
Yeah.
Like despite their best fucking effort to push everything that's not 40K, when compared to 40K, it's all some specialty bullshit played on the side. Can Old World change that?
I mean, but here's the thing. You said played, and we just have proof just by a quick polling in chat that it isn't always about playing.
Yeah.
And plus, too, to the gentleman's first point, the collecting things like the Tomb Kings, all of this fantasy releases have been incredibly expensive on eBay over the past 10 years. Well, since Sigmar went away. So like all of this stuff being available again might again just bring out the folks buying it because they wanted it and then it got so expensive on the secondary market. Now they could, now it comes back down to normal GW price and they can actually purchase it.
Yeah,
it could be some of that.
Mind you, my hobbies in chat says I remember many better times with fantasy than I could ever remember with AOS. So here's my next point, Rob. So like to your point too, you're like, remember like playing versus collecting. So what 1 out of 3 players polled in this limited study shows playing versus some other thing, right? That number is actually about equal in my experience in 40K too. Like I've graduated almost 300 students and about 1 out of 3 of them is actually interested in playing, like actually getting out there and playing hard. Mm-hmm. The rest are just trying to finish their collections and have something they can be proud of and maybe play a little kill team on the side. You know what I mean? It's about the same. So the iceberg, right? Like what's under the ocean that you can't see of any game system is the collector not playing part of it. It should always be bigger, right? Like even in 40K. So 40K's hidden iceberg is gigantic of the people who just buy the models and collect them and try to paint them and don't play. Is huge. Mm-hmm. So to get a game system just to be as visually healthy as 40K in the market means that there is a staggering amount of people who haven't even started playing it yet. Mm-hmm. Fantasy kind of has a bunch of that right now because like these people have been
had it
right
since 1983.
Since 1983. This could be now. All joking aside, right? With like nerd fantasy shit compared to sci-fi hotness. I hope that this is the first instance of that I can remember where we say, hey, we're going to launch this shit. And it actually becomes a second flagship. Because there is none. There is no flagship other than 40K. Like none of it, all of it has failed comparatively.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, you could argue there's other things, there's other games.
No, yeah, I'm saying within the Warhammer IP, within the.
Oh well, sure, yeah.
I'm saying like the Games Workshop, tabletop miniatures game system that they have all these little specialty games, Blood Bowl included.
I mean, like, Sigmar's popular. I mean, Sigmar events fire and people do play it.
Right, that's their second closest thing to Warhammer 40K.
Yeah, it's definitely number 2.
It's number 2, but it's still, we're talking 1,000 people playing at LVO 40K. So it's not even half.
Yes.
Right? Like, remember, there's that iceberg that you can't see.
Yeah.
So that means their iceberg isn't even half. But fantasy, there might be as many people dusting off their Bretonians right now as active AOS fucking iceberg players. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that number might just start day one that big. It's possible that they can actually just instantly jump to AOS popularity as a baseline.
I mean, it could happen. If it's going to happen with anything, it's going to happen with this for sure, because I don't see it happening with Legion Imperialis. But you can make the argument that that's not epic, right? That's not the epic everybody wants. They want they want all the factions. They don't want set in Horus Heresy era. Maybe we'll get that one day. I don't know, but I could see it if any of these lines do it, it would be fantasy. But we'll find out. We'll find out soon enough. I mean, it's coming up beginning of 2024 is what they said. So, and we still have here's another shocking number for you, Kenny. And I know we didn't really get into talking about 40K armies, but over the weekend,
World Eaters domination.
World Eaters
as predicted. OP must nerf. I told you guys I'm responsible for this. I hyped it up hard in the fucking Cali Cup stream, and I spent 2 weeks on podcast talking about how everyone needs to dust off their World Eater armies. Good job, guys. Message heard. You guys deployed the plan.
Well, I mean, literally, they heard it around the world because these events there wasn't really a whole lot happening in America because Thanksgiving. So, like, these events, we're talking Australia, we're talking Europe.
Yeah. Everyone has World Eaters. That's what I was saying. You all have them. You're all fanatics. Dust them off. Look what Anthony did. Look at this shit. We had interviews with the guy. He's on Team America. You can do it too. He destroyed everybody. Eldari, Chaos players, every top tier talent. None of it can stand up to the domination that is World Eaters.
It's true.
Good job, guys.
You did it. So I don't know where I was going with that. I started talking about 40K for some reason.
You just wanted to tell me about World Eaters.
No, I mean, yes, but I don't think that was quite it. I think I wanted to relate this release for Legion Imperialis isn't 40K, right? It's not epic 40K. So this isn't a good comparison to make. I don't know if you can hear that, but I actually did hear that. There is a revolution.
Is there a raccoon in your office?
There's a very upset, tiny person here with fur. Maybe it's past her bedtime. I'm not sure.
Grumpy old lady cat.
There's a very very old cat here that's grumpy. Anyways, she needs some pets and loves. I think maybe everybody's going to be surprised by this. The staggering number. So there is roughly, if you go by the index cards, I think it was 26 or 28. Doesn't matter at this point. It could be 30. This comparison still holds water. It's 26 or 28 sets of index cards, right? That they came out with for Warhammer 40K rules when 10th dropped. By summer of next year, 2024, there will be 12 codex books out, right? 12 of 26, 28, which is nearly half, if not half, depending on how you look at it, will have been out based on the previews. But we still have another 2 years of this edition of 40K if GW sticks to an every 3-year cycle. So how's that going to work?
I don't know.
That's big picture, question mark.
Yes.
Are they going to try to, like, at that point, are they going to have so many releases with Legion Imperialis and Old World that they are going to have to, like, start spacing things out?
You mean like just for the new edition of 40K?
Well, yes.
Well, I mean, like this next edition doesn't have to be a reset.
No, but it happens every 3 years. Yeah. So 1 year into the new edition, 10th edition, nearly half the codex books will have been released. So what are they going to put out for the next 2 years? 6 books a year? Or a bunch of campaign books, which people don't seem to buy anymore? Or is it going to be so flooded with releases for all these games like Legion Imperialis and Old World that remember the days when we didn't get a 40K release every
Well,
month.
they could do. I mean, it could be the. We've got. Remember when they did the Nephilim books? They did the. The GT books that changed the season over. They also did before that the Psychic Awakening books that brought in new data sheets and units.
I mean, they could, but
that shit was hype. We all loved that shit.
At the beginning they did, but they stopped doing that. They even said, they're like, you guys aren't buying these. We're going to stop doing it. Like the first year of Ninth, like people were like over it.
Fair.
So I don't know. It's going to be weird. Like something is,
who knows? Maybe they're just going to put all the factions out there and then spend 2 years balancing.
Well, they're going to put at least half. Oh, well, they could just fast forward and put them all out in 2 years and spend a year balancing. I mean, I feel like it's pretty balanced right now besides Eldar.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But then you think about how many other factions that's going to keep happening, right? That's the whole job, is to keep balancing the new releases. So as long as they keep doing that.
I mean, as long as they keep it in balance and keep things tight.
That's why 40K is honestly always taking the lead, is it does get the most literature now. It does get the most.
Mm-hmm. It's really hard to say. Because there's so much, there's just so many question marks right now with all these games coming out that have all sorts of different appeal to different people for different reasons. Like it's actually kind of exciting.
Yeah, I'm actually more excited about this than I thought I'd be. Yeah, I think we did it. It's a good episode.
Yeah, I do too.
We've got next. Oh yeah, so next month or next week, I guess we should look at the calendar and start planning out our year ender, right? Because we're about to go in
a hibernation.
Yeah, so probably we're known for taking the last 2 weeks of December off, right? Is that usually what we do?
Yeah, generally. And I think the way the holidays are now, because Christmas and New Year's on Mondays, I think a lot of people are getting those weeks off, from work, hopefully.
So we have at least 2 more episodes to do before we go on hibernation. At the very least.
14th?
We'll definitely be streaming at least on the 14th.
Okay.
So we'll make a more informed decision based on, if we go all the way to the 21st, which I don't see us doing. So, probably.
I'm not really feeling that.
Yeah, it's kind of
Wait,
close.
you mean the 23rd? No.
Yeah, it's a nonsense. That'd be a podcast that got lost in the warp. It wouldn't mean anything.
Yeah, I mean, people are living their lives. I mean, 40K is cool and all, but I don't feel like we need to stream past I'm on November here. Just past the 21st, yeah. Or no, the 14th. Yeah, because that's basically like the holidays at that point.
Yeah. Okay. So take us out of here, Rob.
All right. Well, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, y'all. For exclusive content, early access videos, and more, head on over to thelongwar.net and become a veteran today.